Hey, welcome back, and in today's video, we found out that Chris Hansen had sold the rights to the Onision investigation from an article of Mail magazine. He said that this is absolutely not the case, and that that's not even how it works. Several weeks later, we find out that the Onision survivors, well, they're not too happy about the situation, and we were left wondering exactly what happened. Well, I feel like I've cracked the code. I've sort of figured it out, and it's gonna be pretty mind-blowing, so buckle your seatbelts. We're going on a journey. If you're unfamiliar, Chris Hansen is a TV journalist, personality character. Most notably, he worked on Dateline NBC To Catch a Predator. And you might have seen him in YouTuber John Swan's videos where he exposes the truths of the situations that are going on. Chris Hansen has been shrouded in controversy most recently because of his YouTube channel. Well, his second YouTube channel, the first one, that's right, Greg, the first one was taken down for copyright infringement. The second one, he has established himself as a regular YouTuber, getting involved in controversies and whatnot. Sorta, I am proud a little. It first came out in Mail magazine that Chris Hansen had actually sold the rights to the Onision investigation that he'd been covering adamantly on the YouTube platform. I'm going to be going back and forth between some previous video clips that's going to tie in together the full context of this situation, give you a bird's eye view. But before we get into that, we have a sponsor for today's video. How would you like to have access to Netflix shows that you didn't even know existed because they were in other countries? Well, today's video is sponsored by Surfshark VPN. Surfshark is an application and browser extension that lets you place the location of your computer and or phone anywhere in the world. Meaning when you access the internet, it's like you're in that country. That's right, you'll have content that is specific to that country that otherwise you wouldn't normally see. But wait, there's more. On top of this, it adds an extra layer of security that keeps your photos and your videos and just anything in general safe. It even lets you block ads, trackers, and malware. The web is a better place when you're safe. Forget malware and phishing attempts and be free from ads. You can find the best prices of anything. Check the prices in different countries and score a great deal. Works like a charm with airline tickets, hotels, and car rentals. Honestly, it's just really cool for the Netflix shows specifically. I consider myself a connoisseur of the arts of watching and binge watching shows. So you get access to crazy TV reality shows and just shows in general from other countries that you normally would not. And if you end up just not liking it or you have a difficulty with commitment, then you can just get rid of it because they have a 30-day money-back guarantee. So I'm gonna do you guys a solid. Use code Repzilla for not 20, not 50, but 85% off. And how about an additional 3 months for free? I think the 3 months for free only lasts 30 days after the August 17th, so better get on that. The link is in the description below. Big thanks to Surfshark VPN for the sponsor of this video. I appreciate it. As we were saying, Mail magazine, Chris Hansen sold the show. Said he didn't. So far so good in that regard. Investigation Discovery has bought the rights to the Onision story. Now it is important for me to point out that a lot of people were saying that this magazine was not credible. Some questioning its credibility, while others not so much. Well, if it was not credible, then why did he agree to do an interview with them? And why is he potentially requesting for an edit? Needless to say, the edit was made. It went from sold the rights to signed a deal, which sort of still includes the exchange of some money there, some monetary value. Now, Chris Hansen was very adamant on the point that that's not even how it works. You can't sell the rights to a show. He was very vague about this.
So the question that I'm looking at right now, what were your motives in selling the Onision story? And do you plan to do the same thing with Dahvie Vanity? Well, I didn't sell the Onision story. That's not how anything works. How would you even sell the story? It's just not true. That was based on an erroneous assumption on an article that was written that has already been corrected that used those terms. I work on a lot of different projects at the same time, probably a dozen as we speak. When they're ready to be talked about and released, I will talk about them. But you just don't take a story and sell it. It's just not how it works. So whether or not we continue past YouTube on any of these things, it's something that we'll take a look at the appropriate time.
It does not confirm nor deny that the show was given up for monetary gain. I reached out to one of the survivors to do with the Onision story that has been active in helping Chris Hansen behind the scenes, and she had told me that the other survivors were not happy about this situation. I know that we're going to hear more about the details in the coming days, but the main reason that everybody is upset is there wasn't transparency. In fact, he didn't say much of anything about this. He seemed to respond to this in a tweet, June 13th of 2020. No one is selling rights to a story to a network. That's not even how it works. And why would you not explore expanding an important story to a wider audience? Shouldn't the survivors' voices and the quest for justice go beyond YouTube? So right off the bat, this seems a little bit weird with wording. He says no one is selling this, but then he says, but why wouldn't you do that? Why wouldn't we put this to a wider audience? So it's kind of like you did or you did not. Now let's put the money aside for a second. I think the main thing is that if all the survivors of Onision were okay with sharing their traumatic stories on national television, I mean, surely Chris Hansen, this would be something that he would worry about, right? Dahvie Vanity survivor Ashlee Lily tweets, so let me get this straight. The Onision story has been filmed already. He said he didn't sell it, unless he donated it, which doesn't ever happen. Like, what the F actually happened? And what happened to consent for all survivors? This just doesn't add up. It's important for me to say for context that there were 2 Onision survivors that were okay with the Onision show, that being Shiloh and Regina. The others were and are still not happy with those 2. Billy Don Webb tweeting, F Shiloh too. Sarah tweets, I wish y'all could have heard the way I was just spoken to on the phone. Truly repulsive. By who? Who's the sorry sack? Shiloh. Luximu tweets, we were told that if no one wanted to be involved, we wouldn't have to. And Chris said to us verbatim that, of course, we wouldn't use your faces or stories if you didn't want to be in it. So then why is it that they're doing it anyway and having Regina react to it for the show? Apparently, because we didn't sign anything with Chris before our interviews almost a year ago, it's legal for him to use his content. Legality doesn't equal morality. He knew we didn't want this, and he did it anyway. Chris doesn't give an F about victims. A clinical therapist who actually specializes in trauma asked Chris Hansen, saying that, I'm hearing you're planning on potentially using pre-recorded interviews with survivors for a future show despite their consent. Are you aware that this is potential re-victimization? Lane tweets, further victimizing victims by taking their ability to say no to being on national television isn't caring about victims. Stephanie from Blackfin Media. What is Blackfin Media? Blackfin Media is actually a company founded and driven by filmmakers and storytellers. Blackfin is sought after production partner for award-winning directors, producers, cinematographers, editors, and organizations looking to collaborate on groundbreaking projects. As you can see, they work with Investigation Discovery. They work with the National Geographic, and they work with the Discovery Channel in general. Even Netflix. Meaning that I wouldn't be surprised if the Onision show ended up on Netflix as well. So obviously 100% you can tell that they're not on board with this, and this is probably something that he shouldn't do. But what would you do if I told you that it most likely was not in his hands anymore? Well, I'm going to explain something that kind of puts everything into perspective. Do you remember when I tweeted, OMG, I think I figured out what's actually going on with the Onision show? Video soon. Well, I started doing some research on reality TV shows and how they go about doing them, because Chris Hansen, he wasn't telling us anything. He was being very vague and open-ended about everything he said to do with it, and that when more information come out, he would talk about it at that time. Well, this is what I figured out. This is an actual law page, what you need to know before signing reality TV contracts, that kind of goes over everything, how Hollywood contracts work, and the different kinds of clauses that you want to watch out for. And then it just clicked for me when I remembered a previous conversation I had with one of the girls that were involved in the Onision show, where she talked about Chris pressuring them to sign contracts. She said he set up making a 4-hour documentary series about the situation before telling any of the survivors. And when we found out, he asked us to participate, but told us all directly if we didn't want to be involved, he wouldn't put our identity on TV. He is now making the documentary series, including the names, faces, and identities of multiple people who did not consent. They never wanted it to be on TV. They still don't. Chris Hansen tried to pressure them into signing terrible contracts, and when the girls rightfully refused to sign away their rights, he proceeded to continue with the project anyway. And then I asked about the contracts, to which she said, to sum it up, they wanted to own the rights to everything we've ever made or will make, our names or likeness, and they can never get in trouble for anything bad the show causes, up to and including our deaths. I showed my disapproval of this, to which she said, definitely interesting. They tried to get us to sign a contract that included the possibility of us dying because of this. And when we didn't consent, they decided to move forward anyway. So this is a show that's entirely created by Chris Hansen that will re-victimize survivors and put them through extra trauma. And they wanted them to sign the contract that just in case anything happened to them because of the show, they couldn't be sued over it. I could see why they didn't sign the contract. Now, my theory about this is that Chris can't actually do anything because he has no authority over the show. How Hollywood contracts work. In reality TV, the producers of the show have all the power. If they are considering you for their show, their first priority is to get you to sign a contract. You may not even be guaranteed a part in the show yet. The contracts are all written to favor the show and the producers, but keep in mind, the contract you're given is just a first offer. If you have reached the contract stage, that means they're interested in you. You have some leverage. You owe it to yourself to make sure you know what is in the contract and to negotiate for a better treatment. Now, I think this is very interesting because obviously the survivors in this situation are not going to know anything. They're not going to be well informed about TV and Hollywood contracts. I didn't even know anything about them. But you know who is? Chris Hansen. In fact, he's probably going to know every single detail about them. So he'd be able to negotiate these things very easily. Here's some interesting clauses that come with these type of Hollywood contracts, specifically life story rights. Producers often add an exclusive right to sell your life story, not in conjunction with the TV show. This means that they can sell your life story for theatrical motion pictures, stage plays, radio, internet, or through any other media, and you will not be compensated. You should never accept this term in your contract. They have the right to defame you. Most contracts will allow the producers to portray you in any way that they want, even if it's false and misleading. This clause requires you to give up your right to sue the producers for defaming you. That's insane. Royalties on future earnings. Producers will try to claim the percentage of all your future earnings outside the show for a period of time. Be cautious with this clause. You don't know what your future holds. Both the percentage of future earnings and the time period should be negotiated. So there you have it. I've given out more information on Hollywood contracts than Chris Hansen has. Here's a quote to remember. Powerful people impress and intimidate by saying less, making things vague and open-ended. Just like Chris does with the FBI contacts he did with the information he has on television shows.
It wasn't until we had an FBI agent assigned to the case that he finally got in touch with an FBI agent regarding everything. And at first, they didn't even want to be speaking with him or involved with him.
Okay.
So he didn't have law enforcement connections.
Okay.
He didn't have FBI.
Did you ever ask him about like what he could do for the story or the investigation or anything like that, I guess?
Yeah, of course. And he of course always left it with like open-ended or like, you know, generalized statements like, oh yeah, I know people, I have connections to law enforcement from, you know, when I had my time on NBC, and I have these connections and like different things. And I didn't know what he was talking about because I'd never spoken to an FBI agent until a couple months into the investigation. So I didn't know.
But to be clear,
I mean,
now there is an open case and but that is not exactly to any aid from Chris Hansen?
No, not at all. Tehmimi, who, if Tehmimi's still in the chat, Tehmimi and Creepshow Art are the ones who found us our FBI agent. Like, we owe that to them. Like, without Tehmimi and Shannon, we would not have the person that we have right now, who is amazing, and them and their partner have just been incredible. And we wouldn't have that because with Chris Hansen, we kept asking and asking when it was going to go farther and never got anywhere with it.
So basically, to put it in perspective, Chris Hansen acts like he has more resources than he does. He doesn't show all his cards. Chris solidified himself as the main character in a show that he created. Really, honestly, looking back at it, the theatrics that he went to, it seems pretty clever. In a situation like this, the less everyone else knows, the better.
you just don't take a story and sell it. It's just not how it works. So whether or not we continue past YouTube on any of these things, it's something that we'll take a look at the appropriate time.
So no, he technically did not sell a show, because technically he's right. That's not how it works. He created the story, pitched the story, where the investigative discovery picked it up to create the show, where they would then try to contract all of those involved with everything Chris invented. So I theorized that Chris himself actually has no more or less power than any other character involved in the show. And he had to sign a contract just like them. He's a TV personality, a character after all. He wants to be back on TV, so once again, Chris, technically, no, he did not sell anything, but really, what's the difference at the end of the day? As interesting as this is, there's always something that's more interesting to me. That's right, you guessed it. I want to know what you think. So why don't you go ahead and leave your creative and interesting responses in the comment box below. Thumbs up those likes. As always, brothers and sisters, I will see you in the next video. I mean, it's pretty clever. Like, you make this show, you do all these theatrics, you travel out to Onision's house, and you do all these things to ensure that it's very interesting. You pitch it to a network television, and then they pick it up. So you've made it interesting yourself. So interesting that you know they're going to pick it up, and then they employ you in your own show, and really he wouldn't have any other control over it unless he was an inside producer himself, which if that's the case, then it's even worse than my theory here. But I would like to thank my patrons. I think we're at 117 patrons with a goal of 120, and I feel like we can reach that goal. I'm going to do a live stream this weekend on Saturday. It's going to be terrible. Like, I haven't done live streams in a long time. I'm doing it in a different format than I've never done it. We're going to have Ashlee Lily on there. We're going to talk about some Dahvie Vanity stuff. We might have some special guests of some people that you know. So I'm really looking and nervous about doing a live stream, but it's about time I get back on the grind. I'm actually going to try to this video is not going to come out today. This is like the 27th. It's probably going to go out Friday. I'm going to try to work real fast another video for you guys today, because like I said, I'm really trying. I'm dipping out of a depression right now, so I'm feeling good about life. Don't forget to get the newest Repzilla shirt, where you can color it any way you'd like, any color. Links in the description. And it's just another way to show that you're repping. If you're not repping, you're getting how you do that. All you gotta do is subscribe with notifications turned on. Be in the comment section after every single video, because I'm gonna be there. Greg the Cat's gonna be there. Positivity Turtle's gonna be there, and the rest of the Rep Squad as well. And I expect to see you there too, because this channel loves you. Woo! About to give me a Coke. Greg, you want a Coke? Let's go.